The Pirate Kings DLC is one of the expansions of all time. I took it upon myself to casually cheese every level in order to showcase how much room for improvement there still is for the tower balance in Vengeance. What I mean by casually cheese is that I wanted to trivialize the stages without having to sweat for the feat. You'll see what I mean in the first level right now. I brought Boneflingers, Deep Devil's Reef, Shaolin Monks, Goblin War Zeppelin, Ogre Shipwreck, and Lucerna. To be honest, it barely matters what you bring in this level. It's just a big choke point with an enemy spawner just barely past the intersection. So all I had to do was bring enough towers that spawn units that I could have an army to permastall everything. Look at the Black Corsair. He can barely make it 10% of the way past his spawn point towards the exit. This is why he wasn't a ground hero in Frontiers. It's pretty sad that his main ability is to deal high area damage, yet he gets hard countered by spamming multiple units. But this is because with enough units, you can desync their respawn times. Then you should pretty much always have a unit on the field to block him, no matter how much damage is being dealt. This strategy is as old as Kingdom Rush 1, where you could permastall JT with level 1 barracks despite him having an area insta-kill. Speaking of insta-kills, that would normally be the optimal strategy for the second boss, but if you deal enough damage and can stall his spawns, your towers will kill the boss before his ape mates even become a problem. So my loadout for this stage was Shadow Archers, Swamp Things, Wicked Sisters, Mausoleums, and Ogre Shipwreck with the same hero. The idea here is that Swamp Things and Wicked Sisters have enough range to take up a spot on the top or bottom of the map while still being able to hit the boss. The Wicked Sisters in particular can bypass the tower disable ability he has, which would otherwise counter the Blazing Gem. Shadowmark doubles the damage taken of a target, and the Ogre Shipwreck's Musket Rage is like the Crossbow Fort's Barrage skill. So, Barrage with double damage on this boss deals a ton of damage even at the start of the fight. Just look at how juicy that burst damage is. 2,000 health destroyed in an instant. And he doesn't even make it halfway across the map before he dies. What if I told you that I was holding back this whole time? Lucerna is by no means a weak hero, but if you want boss damage, she's far from the best option to use. Dinyan is who you want. You also want good sources of burst damage like the Elite Harassers, Shadow Archers again for Shadowmark, the Ogre Shipwreck again for Musket Rage. The Mausoleum is here just to help the choke point, and the Wicked Sisters are here just for their massive range. It's also important to pre-place towers at the start of this stage because of the Deep King boss. He will eat a tower if given enough time to use his ability, and his targeting prioritizes the oldest tower you've built. So, if you just sacrifice 80 gold to build a cheap archer tower at the start of the map, you only lose that much money rather than a whole maxed tower. You can see in his first spawn that he dies to burst damage before Shadowmark even expires, so he doesn't even have the time to eat my sacrificial archer tower. This is mostly thanks to Dinyan. I have a tendency to lowball heroes when they first release, since there's always more challenges you can accomplish to help them shine. Dinyan is the most severe case of this, because as more Vengeance stages were released, his magic damage became less of a downside, and his raw single target damage output became more of an upside. Just so you know, in my updated hero rankings, Dinyan is now the 3rd strongest hero in the series, surpassing Merglin and Wilbur. His hero spell, Son of the Storm, is genuinely that good, and his attacks come out so easily and freely that he's got even more uptime for damage dealing than Bruxa. And on top of that, oh wait, the boss is already dead. Moving on, for flexing purposes, I am bringing Azra as my hero even though there are far better options for this. I'm also going to use the Melting Furnace, Blazing Gem, Ogre Shipwreck, Swamp Thing, and the Orc Shaman, which still can't consistently one-shot the flying enemies in this level even with the Melting Furnace buffing it. That's just sad. But despite those setbacks, you'll see the biggest cheese in this DLC yet. First, this is the best Melting Furnace stage yet, so the entire level is practically free once you set this up. For the boss fight, towers can attack Spectro before he even properly spawns on the battlefield, so placing towers who can reach his spawn point allows you to deal some damage during his cutscene. Then, Blazing Gem has a special property with its projectile, which is that it's not even a projectile. It instantly teleports the attack damage onto the target, which is important because of Spectro's shield. He only gets it when there is fog on the path below him, but being able to bypass the shield at all is still a massive boost to your boss damage. Just imagine how fast he would die if I had a maxed Blazing Gem already damaging him during the cutscene and pre-placed Sons of the Storm. For the last level, we get all 4 of these bosses again at waves 5 and 12. For this, I held nothing back, bringing in Dinyan, Deep Devil's Reef, Ogre Shipwreck, Swamp Thing, Shadow Archers, and the Ignis Altar. The Black Corsair actually survives for the longest, simply because he spawned first when I had less gold to buy towers. But thanks to Dinyan's single target damage output, he practically solos the boss. The second boss fight goes even more smoothly, because the Ignis Altar is able to slow him down, so he barely makes any progress on the path before he dies. The Deep King doesn't get a chance to do much either. With some pre-placed Sons of the Storm, and towers with high range sniping him from afar, as well as stalling at the entrance, I literally didn't even have a use for my sacrificial Shadow Archer towers. I ended up selling one of them to make room for something better while I was stuck waiting for Spectre to spawn. Even without the Blazing Gem, this guy stood no chance. His cannon volley couldn't even kill an ogre thanks to Dinyan's Healing Cloud. And with all those bosses down, the final fight with Blackthorn should go even better with all the gold I have at my disposal. I have both the Ignis Altar and Shadow Archers stacking their damage multipliers on him at the entrance, all while the Ogre Shipwreck permastalls him with the Ogre and deals burst damage with Musket Rage. Swamp Things and Red Spines are sniping the boss, while Dinyan's Hero Spell deals a whopping 2,250 damage times 3 thanks to the debuffs, for 6,750 total damage. Blackthorn loses half of his 20,000 HP before he can even take a step forward. And then, everything goes wrong. You see, the reason I know that the Ignis Altar and Shadow Archer debuffs stack additively instead of multiplicatively is because of how they apply to Blackthorn. Shadow Mark makes him take 100% more damage, and so does Single Extinction. So in total, he takes 200% more damage. When the debuff expires, the game simply decreases his damage taken by 100%. But when Blackthorn destroys a tower, the game removes the debuff instantly for the tower, as well as a second time when it registers that the debuff expires. Then he destroys the Shadow Archer while another Shadow Mark debuff is active. So if you do the math, he takes a further 200% less damage after gaining another 100% more damage taken. So in the end, when all is said and done, he adds up to 0% damage taken. Blackthorn literally became invulnerable. Luckily, you can reset this with another debuff, but whenever the tower is destroyed again, it only does more harm than good. And because Blackthorn targets the newest tower built rather than the oldest, it's even harder to fix things, which is exactly what doesn't happen. Blackthorn then starts to take negative 100% damage, meaning that all attacks dealt to him restore his health. Blackthorn ends up healing so much that he actually surpasses his own limits like some sort of anime character. He evolves past the physical limitations of his own body and gains more health than the UI is supposed to allow him to have. Not even the UI itself can contain Blackthorn's power. So he becomes the most powerful being in the universe and forces me to not even complete the challenge. Now I'm the one getting cheesed by these bosses. And the funny thing is, my strategy is not even the cheesiest thing you can do to the boss. Apparently, you used to be able to possess a hanged captain and have him block Blackthorn, and he would instantly kill him. So not only was there a cheesier way to do the boss battle, but my way literally made the game unwinnable. But wait, there's more. Apparently, if you use this exploit to insta-kill Blackthorn, it bricks your game. Congratulations, Ironhide. You have made the DLC of all time. In all seriousness, this DLC is still really good. It's ambitious, but still successful at what it wants to do. I'll make fun of all the things you can do to mess with the game, but as a baseline experience, I think it still beats most of what you can get with the tower defense genre. The game definitely needs more balance changes, unless the premium towers and heroes on mobile are just supposed to be OP, at which point the only way to enjoy the game as a challenge is to play it by handicapping yourself. But that's true for all of the games. Allura, Boneheart, Wilbur, etc. are all going to break the games when you use them. Technically, that is an argument for all of the games being bad, but it's not hard to just use something else that's less OP. Where it becomes a bigger problem is that so many of the towers are OP inventions too, so you have to restrict yourself from so much in order to enjoy the experience that it breaks your immersion at points. Basically, this is a great DLC trapped in an imbalanced game. I just know this DLC would be considered amazing if it was in Frontiers, which a lot of people claim has the most balanced tower set. It's easy to hate stuff if you're in the mood for it. I genuinely think though that things are looking up for Ironhide and for the community, but that's a video for next time. Have a good day, everyone, and let me know if you'd enjoy seeing more stream highlights like this.